This is Trucks and Tractor Power featuring the best in Mtra monster truck racing. Today, it's the Monster Truck Thunder Drag from the Canfield Fairgrounds in Canfield, Ohio. This is race number 11 of the Penda Point Series. All season long, Andy Brass has been leading in points. But right now, he finds himself playing catch-up to his teammate Dan Runte. Hi, everybody, I'm Gary Lee, and welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the National Network. You know, I have to wonder, does this represent a changing of the guard within the Bigfoot monster truck racing team? Well, Army Armstrong, who does have the biggest feet?
Gary, in answer to your question, it's simple. Dan Runte has the biggest feet in Canfield. Through the qualifying session today, he had quick qualifying time. He's already taken 2 wins out of Canfield. So literally everybody was kind of spooked by him. Well, that's not the case with the other Bigfoot truck, Andy Brass, who lost his national points lead to Runte here at Canfield. He and his crew have kind of regrouped, reset their train of thought, and come back and go quicker than the Bigfoot Power Wheels with their Bigfoot Cruiser in that first round of elimination. What I'm trying to tell you, I don't know which one of these trucks could hold on and win this thing today if it's at all possible. Right now, in this sport, both of these trucks are capable of kicking their competitors through the field goal finish line. Back to you, Gary.
Well, Army, let's take a look now at the current standings once again. After 10 events, Dan Runte with the lead over Brass, then Colt Cobra, Fred Schaefer, and Dan Patrick. Here's a look now at the top 5 qualifiers today. Runte quick at a 5:02, then his teammate Andy Brass a 5:11, then Patrick, Gary Porter, and Colt Cobra. Now here is action from round 1. In fact, Andy Brass turned in the quickest run of 4:96. That ties him with Dan Runte for the fastest time ever in this type of competition as he took out Fred Schaefer in round 1. Now, also in round 1, Paul Schaefer, near lane, respectable 5:15 ET. Spent a ton of money to get that low. However, it still wasn't good enough for the Ford. The Ford takes him at a 5:05. Dan Runte continues on.
Hey, Runte and these guys seem to be leapfrogging everybody. A 5:15 is an awesome run, but Runte and the Bigfoot boys, they win a 10th quicker. Everybody catches them, then they jump out. For an example, Mark Hall goes up against Colt Cobra. Hall in a Chevrolet, Cobra in a Ford, same scenario. This guy goes a low 5-second run, a 5:11 to be exact. Hall makes a good run, nothing to be ashamed of. But the Ford camp have found something that keeps them about a 10th in front of everybody else.
Now watch what happened to Ray Porkowski in the near lane after he gets taken out by Dan Patrick. And he was very lucky right here to hang on. He puts the power back in and keeps it upright.
Yeah, he was awfully close to high side. And Gary Porter comes out, the big hope for the Chevrolet camp out of North Carolina. Lays down a good run, but the big question is, can he get into the next round and run in the low 5s with the Ford?
He will have to go better than the 5:23 to make some noise in round 2. Welcome back to Canfield, Ohio. We are ready for round 2 competition from the Canfield Fairgrounds, the Monster Truck Thunder Drags. And here's a look now at your pairings. It'll be the Monster Patrol and the Power Wheels Bigfoot Snakebite against Samson, and the Chevy Carolina Crusher against the Ford Bigfoot Cruiser. Let's go trackside now and check in with Army Armstrong.
Gary, what we're looking at are the final set of cars in the left lane at Canfield, Ohio. Now, this weekend, there have been 4 races run chasing these Penda National Points Championship. In this lane, not one vehicle has touched the last car. Every race, over 100 of them, have literally flown past this spot. And this spot's the finish line. Back to you, Gary.
Well, so get ready now for round 2 competition. We look under the vehicle, which is Paul Schaefer in the Monster Patrol. Unfortunately, Paul does not have lane choice in this event. He'll be in the right lane, the lane nearest the camera.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to bother Paul. He and his crew have been working hard all year long trying to get dialed in. They're getting closer and closer. The horsepower is there. The horsepower for the Portage, Indiana Auto Salvage businessman is an Arias engine. No problem with horsepower. He just got to get the chassis squared away. Speaking of horsepower, the Power Wheels team, they've hooked up with Alan Root to make buku horsepower for those Ford engines, the supercharged version of the 460 cubic inch engine, Gary.
Well, Dan Runte certainly has the package going his way. The package meaning horsepower, the suspension works. He's tough to beat.
Well, plus he's got a cool driver suit and a no-fear decal on his helmet.
Well, yeah, but he has to put the pedal down and have it all hooked up, though, when he goes racing. And so far, this has been his season.
Still got a cool driver suit.
Well, he does that.
We're both kind of jealous of this driver. So Chevrolet versus Ford. Let's see what's going to happen. Schaefer, near lane Chevrolet, nothing to lose. He's experimenting, trying to get the horsepower to the ground. We know the Ford can do it. They lead together. Gary, you take the call.
That's going to be Ford at the far side. Bigfoot Power Wheels of Dan Runte. So he will advance. Dan had a time of 5:04. There's the time for Runte in the Power Wheels Bigfoot. He will advance and maybe pad his points cushion just a bit of 5:17. Respectable run for Paul Schaefer.
There's your 10th I was talking about. The Ford's leapfrog. You catch them, they'll jump out of 10th on you. You catch them, they'll jump out again. Let's see what's going to happen. Runte at the finish line, a little bit lollygag, a landing there, but it works.
Lollygagging, there's a word for your vocabulary. Let's go back trackside, Army.
What's causing the truck to yaw like that on the other end? That last jump is throwing you completely sideways, it looks like to me.
Army, it's pretty much the way we got Trailmaster shocks valve. The truck's setting down in between the cars. That's what we're looking for. We're really not looking for the finish line. As long as the truck's landed and we can control it, that's after the fact. And that really doesn't make a big difference. Like I said, if the truck sits down in between the two sets of cars and hooks up the whole distance, that's what makes your times faster.
Yeah, but that's when you hold your breath down there when you're not quite straight in the shutdown area. There's a good look at Gene Patterson, hands on his hips. He's the crew chief for Dan Patrick and Sampson. No stranger to monster truck competition, either as a crew chief or as a driver, formerly with Bigfoot.
He knows exactly what he's doing. That's why Patrick has teamed up with him. I'm looking for something from these guys in the future. They're talking to a lot of the major corporations. They're trying to work their way back in as Dan Patrick's picture comes up on the screen. They want to put Chevrolet back in a winner's circle. They want to break this Ford dominance.
There's a look at Colt Cobra, the snake bite truck, and it will be Ford against Chevrolet. Patrick, in fact, was the first truck in Sampson into the 4-second bracket. He has found victory lane already this season.
Yeah, that's been the highlight for the Chevrolet camp, because as soon as he went into the fours, the Ford followed him there, and they've been dominant since.
And right there, snake bite takes the victory, the far lane. The time on that was a 5:08 for Colt Cobra. Dan Patrick's 5:13, ever so close, but hey, not close enough.
Yeah, again, we're not playing horseshoes and hand grenades. Close doesn't count.
Once again, a Ford continues to win. As we take a look right here, you see the Ford is on the ground first, hooking up the horsepower. Now, all the Fords are using the Trailmaster shocks. Snakebite takes the win, and he's standing by trackside with Army Armstrong.
Tell you what, you're like a bad penny to this Bigfoot team. You just keep coming back, and they keep trying to chop your head off, and you keep coming back after them.
That's right, Arm. We keep coming back. We're trying to knock on the door, so to speak, with the Bigfoot team over there. We're doing the best job we can. They know we're here. They're just trying not to look back, but they're going to have to look back one of these days because we're right there.
Coming up next, another Ford Chevrolet pairing with the Bigfoot blue Ford of Andy Brass and the Carolina Crusher of Gary Porter. Andy Brass, the 11th event this season, is playing catch-up. In fact, he is only second in the point standing.
Well, that's a new role for Andy, but I don't think it's going to affect him. He is such a cool driver. He's calm, cool, and collective. He's going to do exactly what he has to do. He's concentrating on going to the other end. The St. Louis recently married native knows what he's got to do. He knows what Bob Chandler paid him to do. Meanwhile, Gary Porter, the privateer, he runs off his own pocketbook with the Carolina Crusher. He knows what he's got to do, too. He had the hot hand in his Ford about 3 years ago, lost it because he's spending so much time on the road. He doesn't have a research and development program like the Bigfoot team, and that's costing he and the other drivers, Gary.
Of course, Gary Porter won the national title here about 3 years ago. Down the point standings right now as he stages alongside the big blue of Andy Brass. Round 2 competition continues here in Canfield, Ohio. We've got a good race. Check this out. Andy Brass wins it. Oh, and here's a good time for Brass, 4:98. Second straight run in the fours for Andy Brass. 5:08, a good run for Gary Porter, just not quick enough.
Keep bumping out. It's kind of like a carrot. They just hold it far enough in front of you.
Here's a look at your final four. The Power Wheels Bigfoot against Snakebite. Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, the fast loser, going up against the Bigfoot Cruiser. And here's Gary Porter.
Gary, real quick. Man, a 5:0 run is awesome. You've run a 5:06 and got beat this weekend, a 5:08 and got beat this weekend. What's going through your mind here?
Well, Army, is really tough out here, without having a big major sponsor and without having about 20 crew guys to, keep my truck up for me, and all I do is sit in the driver's seat. it's sort of hard for me to, compete against them. I'm just out here, struggling, doing the best I can, and, my day will come.
That seems to be the sentiment of everyone. They all say the same thing when they're chasing a guy driving this Ford. The Monster Truck Thunder Drags are part of the Special Events Performance Series. It's a weekend of four-wheel fun. Visit the manufacturer's Midway and enjoy the show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out when one of these shows will be coming to your area. Welcome back to Canfield, Ohio. We are prepared for the semifinals. 3 Fords and a Chevrolet. Some cloudiness now has moved into the area, but not to dampen the enthusiasm, the spirits, or the competition. There's a look at the Bigfoot Power Wheels of Dan Runte. And let's go back trackside now and check in with Army Armstrong.
Okay, one of the concerns that some of the other drivers have are the number of crew members that are coming out here now. Jim Skycutter, he's an old drag racer. He comes over with the Bob Chandler operation, is listed actually as a crew chief for that truck. But what he's serving really is a statistician for all the Bigfoot and Bob trucks here. He's the guy that dots I's and cross T's, but the other teams don't have the luxury of having a Jim Skycutter on their team, or the perfectionism that he brings to the sport with him from the sport of drag racing that he's been involved in. Back to you, Gary.
Well, Army, that's what Gary Porter was alluding to earlier. He was doing it really on his own as a privateer, didn't have the big staff to go along at each event.
Well, what happens? These trucks allow 3 crew members. Well, all the Ford guys are jumping in and helping each other. The Dodge and Chevrolet guys, they're still playing privateers. They're kind of like Custer. They're sitting out there on the hill by themselves right now.
There's a look at Colt Cobra, and there's a look at Dan Runte, a pair of Fords, the Power Wheels Bigfoot and Snakebite.
You got to remember, earlier in the year, Colt Cobra snookered Runte. I don't think it'll happen again. When I say he snookered him, he psyched him out. Runte, kind of a high-strung individual, a little bit nervous. Colt Cobra got the best of him once. Let's see if he can do it again.
They are both staged. Watch the Christmas tree. There they go.
Both leads good. No man's land, I think. Runte, what do you think?
Oh, Runte ever so close. It is a 5:25 for Colt, and for Dan Runte, a 5:21. So they slow down just a bit. There's the time for Runte, but Runte takes the victory by inches.
Well, they slow down in time, but that was a good side-by-side race. Check this out. A little bit of slip on the start line for Colt Cobra. That cost him. Runte took advantage of it and immediately goes the other end.
And for the 9th time this season, Runte goes to the finals. He's with Army.
Well, Snakebite, you put him away. You know Andy Brass is coming after you like a fast-moving freight. If he gets past his round, what's going to happen at the end of the day here?
Well, that's just it. If he does, it's 2 Fords in the final, and that's what we shoot for every time we come out to a race like this. Besides that, Army, I don't know. We'll have to see what he turns for a time. That last pass he made, we'll just have to see what comes out of it and what lane we get thrown in.
All right, remember, the fast time will get lane choice. So it's Andy Brass and Gary Porter for the right to meet Dan Runte. There's the independent, the Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter. That's a Chevrolet.
That was an interesting interview with Runte because he's almost conceding that this race is going to be faster than his and he will not have lane choice in the final. That kind of surprises me.
Well, we'll see if he turns out to be a prophet, because Porter stages against the Big Blue of Andy Brass. There's the Bigfoot Ford. That is the Bigfoot Cruiser.
We understand Porter is building a new truck back in the Carolinas. He's going to try to be back on the circuit with it in the future, but right now he's just trying to play hang on with old equipment, to be very honest with you.
He's just finishing out the season this year to start really anew next year. Chevy against Ford. Chevy the near lane. Ford the far lane for the right to go to the championship round here in Canfield. And it is Andy Brass. Ooh, close at the end. Andy Brass, though, nails it. Look at that. 494. He'll have lane choice. 494 for Andy Brass. Gary Porter turns in a 504.
Any other race in 04 is good enough to win. Gee whiz.
Incredible as we take a look at the replay. See how close it is at the finish. Brass with the hole shot, but he just does hang on. And now we'll go trackside to Andy. Army?
Andy, you make changes. You and the crew have been thrashing. You're talking about going 4.9. Son, you went the quickest in the sport, a 4.94 to go into the final.
Yeah, we did. It's just something that I've been looking for all year. I wanted to be the first guy to turn into the 4.9s, but Dan Patrick with the American Gladiator, he was the first one. And that kind of upset me a little bit, you know, so we knew we was going to have to do something else. We was either going to have to come back in and run a bunch of 4.9s consistent or turn in either a 490 or maybe even a 480. And that's what I've been shooting for now. It's just going to see what we can do. You know, we got to run fast to get the points back and to get into the finals, and that's what we're doing.
Well, as Andy Brass gets ready for the finals, we want to go and show you now one of the all-time great runs in the history of tough truck competition by a proud member of the Blue Oval Bunch. His name is Mark Meese, and he no doubt has been inspired by those 4-second runs of Andy Brass.
He comes out in a street-legal truck and literally abuses it. There's no ride like my low ride.
There goes the front suspension, but he continues on. And listen to the crowd in the background.
They're into it. Johnny Moto Track and Outdoors got him pumped up. He's even waving at him. You got to hit the tire to finish.
I never park up front of the parking lot.
Welcome back. You know, Andy Brass is simply on fire. 3 straight runs in the 4s, a 496 in round 1, a 498 in round 2. The last pass, the quickest ever, 494. And earlier, Army made this observation about his performance.
Gary, you know, in forms of racing like NASCAR racing and everything, the tires are so important. The announcers keep telling you how they're changing the stagger, they're changing the compound or what have you. This sport is no difference whatsoever. Andy Brass was trying to find the handle. I'm going to show you what the handle was. These tires are normally the rear tires on this truck. Okay, the rear tires back there now are normally the front tires. What he did was take those tires and reverse them because there is a weight difference. The tire that's on the front now is actually lighter and used to be on the back. Now that he's got more weight on the back, he seems to be pulling in the times. He doesn't seem to be pulling in the times. He's turning the fastest in the world. But looking for the handle, you hear that term all the time. In this case, it was just moving those tires back and forth and swapping them. Back to you, Gary.
Well, it certainly made a difference if, in fact, that is the reason why all these runs in the 4-second bracket this afternoon.
Well, you know, attention to detail you've got, and all young racers know this, you have to pay attention to detail. Somebody had to take away those tires to know that they were lighter.
That's why you have a crew chief.
Yeah.
Your team members, there's Andy Brass, the far lane. He has lane choice for this championship. His teammate, Dan Runte. Runte leads. Now, Andy Brass, really, with only 2 more events left in the Pin to Point Series, has to knock off Dan Runte.
Well, Andy Brass is the old pro. He knows what he has to do. Runte has played his hand. Now it's up to Brass to sneak in the back door and whack him in the head, and that's exactly what's going to try to happen there. I'm using terminology to let you know that Andy Brass still believes he can win this world championship. It'll be the 4th world championship if he does win it.
But you're saying it's his experience that will make the difference in the final 3 events of the year.
I believe so. They're both good racers. They're both
good run for both of them, but Andy Brass takes the victory. Oh, wait till you hear these times. The first 4-second final, 4.99 for Dan Runte in a losing effort, and Andy Brass goes a 4.91, and there is his ET once again, the first time ever both the finalists run in a 4-second bracket.
In the interview earlier, Andy said he thought potentially he could go into the 4.8. I thought that was a little bit of hoping, but I tell you, 4.91. He's just a blink away from a 480 run, the quickest side-by-side ever.
He did it. Let's go down to Andy.
Gary, the license plate kind of tells the tale. 491, quickest ever. Got to tickle you to death, and we understand that puts you back in the national points lead.
Well, I'd have to look at the points. I don't know exactly where we're standing right now. I know we're going to be up there pretty close or right behind him if we aren't not, or just right ahead of him. The pass, I'm pretty happy with the pass. You know, we've been having a lot of problems with the truck. It's been running good, but it's just not been just peak, you know. I mean, I can tell when the truck's running and when it's not, and it's been dealing us a fit this weekend. But like I say, there at the end, we started changing just all kinds of stuff. I changed my driving style, and I kept with the style that I did change to, and it seemed that we just started getting down to 9s, you know, 497, 496 and that, and then that's where we stayed.
Whatever you did right. Congratulations, Andy.
Well, thank you, Arm.
And our congratulations to Andy Brass. Oh, he gets the bucket of ice water this week. That's becoming tradition now in the Bigfoot organization. That cools him off. Well, if we take a look at the Pin to Points series, 11 of 13 events, there's the 230 lead for Dan Runte over Brass, and it's Colt Coburn and Ford, then the Dodge and the Chevrolet as Runte signs the autographs.
Both players in this game.
And look out, here's the ice for Dan Runte. That's going to wrap it up. We're going to head off to Indianapolis for Army. I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week. Hey, here's news and exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.
Bring the excitement of mud monster truck racing into your living room with Diamond Peace newest horsepower hit. Trust me, you're in there with this third strike. Shake, battle, and roll 3. It's all new and all you come to expect, from the outrageous mishaps of the monster truck racing to the raucous rampage through the mud bog. Shake, battle, and roll 3 is a must for any and every monster truck fan in the house. Over 60 minutes of jarring and pounding, mud and mayhem, and accelerated aerobatics you don't want to miss. To get your copy of Shake, Battle, and Roll 3, call 1-800-438-8585 or send $19.95 check or money order plus $4 shipping and handling to the address shown on your screen, or charge it on your MasterCard, Visa, or Discovery card. Call 1-800-438-8585 for Shake, Battle, and Roll 3.